Earth was under attack. Alien fleets from the Galactic Empire surrounded the planet, their massive warships blotting out the sun. The sight was terrifying, as hundreds of ships, gleaming, dark, and menacing, hovered in the skies, preparing to crush humanity. The humans had no chance. The Empire's fleet was far more advanced, equipped with weapons and technology that Earth couldn't even begin to understand. On the ground, Captain Ryan Voss, a seasoned yet reluctant leader, stood on the balcony of the command center, staring at the darkened sky. He could feel the weight of the situation pressing down on him like a vice. His soldiers, his people, were counting on him. But deep inside, he wasn't sure they could win. He had seen the power of the Empire's warships, and it seemed impossible that they could overcome such an overwhelming force. Then, the voice came, a cold, calculating tone that sent a shiver down his spine. "This is Commander Zorak of the Galactic Empire. Humanity has no place in the galaxy. Surrender now, or face complete annihilation." The message echoed through the speakers, and the words rang out across the planet. For a moment, everything seemed to freeze. The human forces, stationed around the world, were watching. The hope that they had been clinging to began to slip away, like sand through fingers. Voss turned to face his team. Lieutenant Mia Saldana, his most trusted officer, stood by his side, her face pale but determined. "We have to do something," she said, her voice steady despite the chaos around them. Voss nodded, but there was a deep sense of doubt in his eyes. What could they possibly do against a force like this? But then, in the back of his mind, a faint memory surfaced, an old, secret project that had been hidden away for years. It was their last hope. He'd been briefed about it years ago, but he never thought he'd have to actually use it. The resonator. A device buried deep beneath the surface of Earth, capable of channeling cosmic forces, energy so powerful that it could shift the very balance of the galaxy. The question was, would it work? The stakes were high, and failure would mean humanity's destruction. The resonator was a dangerous experiment, one that could either save them all or doom them beyond redemption. There was no time to waste. Voss walked over to the control panel at the front of the room. His hand hovered over the activation button. His team, a small group of scientists and military officers, looked at him with a mix of hope and fear. No one knew if the resonator would even function, let alone stand a chance against the Galactic Empire's might. "Are you sure about this, Captain?" Dr. Evelyn Cade, the lead scientist, asked. She had spent years studying the resonator, and though she believed in its power, even she was unsure about its reliability. "I don't have a choice," Voss replied, his voice cold but resolute. "If we don't activate it now, it's over for us." As the words left his mouth, an explosion shook the building. The Empire's warships began firing, sending blasts of energy crashing into Earth's defenses. Buildings crumbled under the impact, and the sound of explosions filled the air. Voss looked out the window, watching the chaos unfold. People were running in the streets, but there was nowhere to hide. The Empire's ships were too powerful. They would destroy everything. His heart raced. Every second counted. The resonator, if it worked, could turn the tide. But there were no guarantees. The risk was enormous. "Do it, now," Voss ordered. His voice was firm, but his hands trembled as he slammed his palm against the activation console. The screen flashed to life, showing the ancient coordinates. Dr. Cade began entering them rapidly, inputting the final commands needed to unlock the resonator. It was a race against time, every minute they waited brought them closer to the inevitable. A massive alien warship hovered just above the planet, preparing to fire the final blow. Voss watched the countdown on the screen. The seconds ticked by like a clock ticking down to the end of the world. The building shook again as another explosion rocked the facility, but they kept working, undeterred. This was humanity's last stand. Come on, Voss muttered to himself, his mind racing. The pressure was unbearable. Failure meant extinction. But if they succeeded, they might just have a chance to strike back. The countdown reached 0. A low hum filled the room as the resonator began to power up. Voss could feel it, a strange, unnatural force building. It was as if the very fabric of reality was shifting, bending to the will of the resonator. A bright light exploded from the device, flooding the room with energy. It was working. But would it be enough? Voss and his team stood in stunned silence, watching the light grow brighter, the air crackling with energy. Outside, the battle raged on, but now, humanity had one final chance to fight back. The question was, would they be able to harness the power of the resonator in time to save Earth? As the alien warships loomed overhead, the fate of humanity rested in the hands of a desperate few. The final battle had begun, and the clock was ticking. Dr. Evelyn Cade stood before the ancient machine, her eyes wide with a mix of awe and fear. She had studied it for years, but now, standing in the heart of the hidden lab deep beneath Earth's surface, she knew that what she was about to do would change everything. The cosmic resonator was humanity's final hope, a device so powerful it could channel cosmic energy from the farthest reaches of the universe. Buried for centuries, it was Earth's last secret weapon, hidden away by ancient civilizations who had used it to push back otherworldly forces. Now, with Earth facing annihilation, it was time to awaken it. Captain Ryan Voss paced back and forth, his boots echoing in the underground lab. The pressure was unbearable. The alien fleets of the Galactic Empire were closing in, their warships surrounding Earth, ready to unleash destruction. Humanity's most advanced technology was no match for the alien forces, and time was running out. There was only one chance left: activate the resonator, and hope that it could summon something powerful enough to stop the Empire. Voss turned to Dr. Cade. "We're counting on you," he said, his voice low but filled with determination. She nodded, knowing the weight of the responsibility that rested on her shoulders. The resonator had never been activated before, and no one knew exactly what would happen when it was. But if it worked, it could bring the forces needed to save Earth. If it failed, the consequences would be catastrophic. With a deep breath, Dr. Cade began the sequence. As she typed in the final code, the lab suddenly shuddered, and the ground beneath their feet vibrated. The first signs of activation were subtle, a faint hum in the air, a soft glow from the resonator. Then, the sky above them began to shimmer with electric pulses, like rifts tearing through the fabric of space itself. The energy was immense, cosmic forces unimaginable to the human mind surged into the machine. But before the resonator could fully activate, disaster struck. The Empire's AI-controlled drones launched an attack on the lab. Without warning, they stormed in, filling the corridors with flashing lights and deafening alarms. They were faster, smarter, and stronger than any human could hope to be. Their metallic bodies clanged against the steel walls, and their red eyes glowed with cold precision. Human soldiers fired back with everything they had, guns, grenades, and rocket launchers, but the drones kept coming. Explosions rocked the walls, debris flying everywhere. Captain Voss and his team fought with all their might, but the odds were stacked against them. Soldiers fell, their screams lost in the chaos. Still, Voss and his remaining team pushed forward, fighting tooth and nail to protect Dr. Cade and give her the time she needed. "Keep them off her!" Voss shouted, his voice hoarse from the smoke filling the room. He fired his weapon, taking down one drone, then another. The lab was becoming a war zone, with no sign of stopping. But even through the madness, Dr. Cade remained focused. She continued to type at the terminal, her fingers moving faster than ever. Suddenly, a massive surge of energy burst from the resonator, lighting up the sky. The cosmic pulse spread like a shockwave, sweeping through the atmosphere. The Empire's fleet, hidden behind cloaking technology, was suddenly revealed. Massive warships, once invisible, now glinted in the sky, their dark shapes visible for miles. The battle was no longer a hidden war, the world could see it. With the Empire's forces exposed, Earth's forces rallied. Voss looked up as the tide began to turn. The overwhelming power of the resonator had disrupted the Empire's stealth technology, and now humanity had a fighting chance. The soldiers regrouped, firing with renewed energy. The battle was far from over, but for the first time, Earth had a real shot at survival. The war was no longer a losing fight, the Empire had awakened the power of the human spirit, and the resonator had given them the upper hand. The lab shook again as the fight continued outside, but Dr. Cade kept her eyes on the monitor. The pulse of energy was growing stronger, and with it, humanity's hope for victory. As the cosmic resonator reached full power, the very fabric of reality trembled. Space-time itself seemed to crack open, and from within the rift, something ancient and immense emerged. Starborn Titans, beings of pure cosmic energy, unfolded into existence. They were giants, their forms so vast and powerful that they twisted and warped the space around them. Their appearance was nothing short of cinematic, a spectacle that would forever be etched into the minds of those who witnessed it. These titans were not mere aliens or machines. They were godlike beings, their bodies composed of glowing, swirling energies, radiating power beyond comprehension. Their eyes were like stars, burning with the wisdom of the universe itself. As they materialized, their voices reverberated inside the minds of the humans, a sound that was both soothing and terrifying at once. "We answer the call of the free," they intoned, their words echoing in unison, filling every corner of the battlefield. It was a promise, a declaration that they had come not just to fight, but to restore balance to the galaxy. For a moment, the battlefield fell silent, the tide of the war shifting in the blink of an eye. The Galactic Empire, which had once seemed unstoppable, now faced a force far beyond their understanding. The Empire's warships, massive and intimidating, fired their orbital bombardments, launching salvo after salvo of destructive missiles towards the Titans. But these blasts did nothing. The cosmic shields of the Titans absorbed every attack without even a flicker, the projectiles vanishing into nothingness as if they were mere raindrops hitting an invisible wall. The Empire's commanders, cold and calculating, ordered their fleet to reposition, firing everything they had. But the Titans stood unmoved, their cosmic energy rippling like the waves of a distant ocean. It was clear now, the Empire's weapons were useless against the sheer power of these ancient beings. Captain Voss and his soldiers, still reeling from the chaos of the last battle, couldn't help but stare in awe at the Titans' arrival. But there was no time to waste. They had a fight to win. Voss quickly rallied his troops, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds. "We fight with them. For Earth." The humans, who had once been underdogs, now stood alongside the Titans, the might of their cosmic allies filling them with renewed hope and strength. The battle intensified as human soldiers fought fiercely, side by side with the Titans, their weapons small in comparison to the titanic forces they now fought alongside. Explosions rocked the sky, and the sound of metal colliding with metal was deafening as enemy warships fell from the heavens, their hulls torn apart by blasts of cosmic energy. In the heat of the battle, AI soldiers, once loyal to the Empire, began to malfunction. The cosmic energy disrupted their programming, causing them to turn against their creators. One by one, the Empire's advanced robots shut down, their systems deactivated by the overwhelming force of the Titans. It was a turning point, the tide of the war had completely shifted. The visual storytelling was nothing short of breathtaking, ships plummeting from the sky, their engines exploding in fiery bursts, while humans fought with everything they had, their faces grim but resolute. The Empire's technology, once the pinnacle of advancement, was now failing. Their once mighty weapons and machines were powerless against the ancient cosmic force unleashed by the resonator. Captain Voss, his heart pounding with adrenaline, fought on, determined to keep the momentum going. The Empire was no longer invincible, and with every passing second, the hope of victory burned brighter. The Titan's cosmic energy surged through the battlefield like a tidal wave, disrupting the Empire's fleet and giving humanity the chance they so desperately needed. As the battle raged on, the humans and Titans fought as one, their enemies crumbling before them. The visual chaos around them painted a picture of sheer destruction, but it was clear, the end of the Empire was in sight. The humans were no longer just defending their planet. They were taking back their future. The Galactic Empire's supreme commander, once calm and calculating, now stood on the edge of madness. With his fleet in disarray and his forces crumbling, he realized the end was near. Desperation clouded his judgment, and in a final act of revenge, he ordered the launch of a devastating energy bomb, a weapon so powerful that it could obliterate both Earth and the starborn Titans in a single, catastrophic explosion. The bomb's countdown had begun, and the fate of everything hung in the balance. Captain Ryan Voss and Dr. Evelyn Cade, now united by their mission and the weight of their responsibility, knew they had only moments to stop it. The Empire's AI-controlled technology was the only key to disarming the bomb, and the duo had to act fast. After a brutal series of battles, Voss and Dr. Cade had managed to hijack a piece of the Empire's advanced AI tech, giving them the tools they needed to access the bomb's core system. But time was running out. The bomb was primed and ready, its energy core glowing ominously. The clock ticked down, and the air around them seemed to thrum with the weight of the impending explosion. As the battle outside raged on, the Empire's forces began to surrender one by one, their morale shattered. Yet the Supreme Commander remained resolute, his mind consumed by one thought: Earth must burn. His final strike, he believed, would be his legacy, a weapon that could erase all hope, all resistance. Voss, grim but determined, stood at the heart of the Empire's tech control center, his hand hovering over the controls. The screen in front of him flashed red. The bomb was seconds away from detonation. Dr. Cade, her hands flying over the keyboard, desperately worked to break the bomb's encryption. She muttered a few curse words under her breath. The encryption was tough, but not impossible. The fate of humanity rested on her ability to crack it in time. Suddenly, the countdown alarm blared, the bomb's activation was near. Voss clenched his fists. His mind raced. He could hear the sounds of explosions and battle cries outside, but inside the command center, it was just the two of them against the clock. He had a choice to make: sacrifice himself to manually shut down the bomb, or let it detonate, bringing about the end of the human race and the starborn Titans. In a moment of clarity, Voss knew what he had to do. His life was worth nothing compared to the survival of Earth and all it stood for. He turned to Dr. Cade, his voice steady despite the weight of the decision. "If I don't make it in time, you need to finish it. Don't let Earth fall." The bomb's energy core began to glow brighter, its power surging. Dr. Cade looked at Voss. Her eyes filled with determination. "We'll make it. Just get to the core." The action in the command center was intense. Voss ran towards the bomb's central reactor, dodging blasts of energy that shot out from the device's core. He could feel the heat building, the tension thick in the air. The countdown clock hit 10 seconds, time was slipping away. In a final desperate move, Voss threw himself towards the bomb, slamming his hand into the override panel. The screen blinked once, then went dark. The bomb's countdown halted. For a brief moment, silence fell over the room. But before they could breathe a sigh of relief, the Supreme Commander's voice echoed through the speakers, his tone dripping with venom. "You think you've won? The galaxy will never forget this day." His words were a warning, but also a threat: humanity's victory was only temporary. The Empire's forces began to fall back, their resistance fading in the wake of their leader's final words. But the battle was not over. The war might be won, but the commander's threat would linger in the shadows, reminding Voss and his team that peace had only just begun. The galaxy would remember this day, but the fight for humanity's place in it was far from over. As Voss and Dr. Cade walked away from the bomb's control center, the battle outside was winding down, and the first rays of victory began to break through the chaos. The humans had won, but at what cost? With only seconds left on the countdown, Captain Ryan Voss slammed his hand down on the override switch, and the bomb's countdown stopped dead. The room was filled with a tense silence as Voss stood there, watching the screen. It was a moment of pure relief, but there was no time to waste. Outside, the war was still raging, and the Galactic Empire's forces weren't done yet. But as if summoned by fate itself, the starborn titans descended from the skies, their immense forms glowing with otherworldly power. The titans' arrival was a spectacle of cosmic energy, their sheer presence shaking the ground beneath their feet. The Empire's last desperate assault, a final attempt to destroy Earth and the Titans, was met with a force that was utterly unstoppable. Their orbital bombardments, which had once shattered cities and turned entire regions to dust, were now absorbed and reflected by the Titans' impenetrable shields. The Empire's weapons, no matter how advanced, were completely ineffective against the cosmic might of the Starborn. In the midst of the chaos, the Supreme Commander of the Galactic Empire realized his forces had been outmatched. His warships were being torn apart, and his soldiers, once confident in their victory, were now in full retreat. The Empire had lost. Desperation turned to defeat, and the commander had no choice but to surrender. As the Empire's fleet began to pull back, the Titan leaders stood tall, their energy shimmering like stars in the night sky. The Supreme Commander, usually so imposing, was now a broken figure. With a final, reluctant gesture, he lowered his weapon and bowed before the Titans, recognizing their undeniable power. Earth had won, and humanity had earned the respect of the galaxy's most ancient and powerful beings. With the surrender of the Empire, Captain Voss and Dr. Evelyn Cade led the negotiations, signing a treaty that would ensure peace for generations to come. The Titans, once mere observers of Earth's rise, now vowed to stand as protectors of humanity. Their commitment to defend Earth, not just as a planet, but as a symbol of hope and resistance, was unwavering. As the Empire's warships disappeared into the depths of space, Earth began to heal. The scars of battle would take time to fade, but the people had proven that even the most advanced technology and the most ruthless empires could be defeated by courage, unity, and determination. Humanity's place in the galaxy was no longer in question. They had earned their right to be among the stars. The story's final scene shifts to Earth's surface, where Captain Voss stands alone. His eyes scanning the horizon. The Titans have completed their mission and are now leaving, fading into the distance like shimmering stars. Earth is safe, but Voss feels the weight of their victory. His mind drifts to the fallen soldiers, especially Bonner, whose bravery had saved countless lives. He knows that, while humanity has won, the cost of this battle was heavy. Voss takes a deep breath, his gaze fixed on the sky. The Starborn Titans were leaving, but their promise to protect Earth remained. Humanity had won this war, but the true test of their strength would come in the future. With the Titans watching from the shadows, humanity had a chance to thrive, but the fight for survival in the galaxy would never truly end. The camera slowly zooms out, showing a vast field under the vast, starry sky. The stars twinkle, the universe stretching out in all its beauty and danger. As the final shot lingers on the night sky, Voss reflects on the battle, on the lives lost, and on the future that humanity had fought so hard to claim. Humanity had fought and triumphed, and the story of their fight, the story of their courage, would echo through the stars for generations to come.